Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of AMA Air. I'm Chris Savage.
And I'm Erin Dobbs. Later we're going to hear from the National Model Aviation Museum about a new historic donation they've received, as well as hear about our Next Generations of Flight story of the month.
That's right. But first, here are some news stories from around the hobby. The 2017 Florida Jets event took place March 15th through the 18th in Lakeland, Florida. The event featured over 200 RC jets in action, from modern military aircraft to futuristic sport jets. Some of the models were able to reach speeds of 200 miles per hour, and some were up to 12 feet long. Florida Jets is presented by Frank Tiano Enterprises, and the next Frank Tiano Enterprises event is the Top Gun Invitational. That'll be held May 3rd through the 7th.
Collegiate teams from 7 countries gathered at Thunderbird Field in Fort Worth, Texas to compete at SAE Aero Design West earlier this month. Teams competed in one of 3 classes to design, build, and fly aircraft with the overall goal of carrying a relatively heavy load. Depending on the class, teams had to use various aspects of engineering to meet specific rules, limitations, and objectives. The SAE Aero Design Series is intended to provide undergraduate and graduate engineering students with a real-life engineering challenge. The SAE Aero Design East event will be held April 21st through the 23rd in Lakeland, Florida.
If you're looking for a different way to introduce students to drones, you may want to try this new software. Drone Blocks is an iOS app that lets students learn drone programming through a block interface. Using Google's Blockly and the DJI Drone SDK, developers created the program that allows users to drag and drop blocks to program a drone. Drone Blocks offers an 8-lesson curriculum for those interested in using the application in the classroom. These lesson plans will soon be available at amaflightschool.org.
Coming up after this break, we'll take a look at historic new aircraft that is now a part of the collection at the National Model Aviation Museum. We'll be right back.
Are you ready?
In the early 1970s, there were discussions about the declining interest in radio-controlled pattern competition. This led several clubs to hold the first National MultiWing Championships in July of 1973, an event that would later become the National IMAC competition.
The original contest was limited to biplanes and featured pattern and pylon events, but most notably, the pattern rounds featured freestyle maneuvers. Bill Heger of Peoria, Illinois, won with a Glenn Howard-designed Night Twister. And as of today, that same Night Twister that won in July of 1973 can be found in the National Model Aviation Museum. Museum Director Michael Smith sat down with Bill Heger and Jack Poppenhager to talk about this historic aircraft.
When you had called, I had been looking for the airplane for probably 5 or 8 years, and so I was just floored to receive this phone call.
Would you like to know what I told my wife? I said, he wants the airplane. I knew you were excited about it.
Yeah, that was the very first year for that Omaha event that you won. When did you hear about it that you started the practice?
Well, they published the proposal for the biplane event. You know you had to describe what all the rules were going to be, and what the pattern was going to be, and all that. So that's how we got interested in it. And then Omaha was first, in my knowledge, of the first big contest where they were going to use that format.
Right. Glenn Howard was the gentleman who designed and built this airplane.
Yeah.
And you said he was never really happy with it.
He did not fly it all that much. He flew it, and I just approached him. I said, "Would you be willing to sell that?" And he said, "Yeah," because he always had projects. He come up with 2 or 3 new airplanes a year, and so he was willing to part with it, and it was exactly what I was looking for, and I didn't have anything in mind of the current kits.
You said you changed the wing to meet the rules.
In the original wing, it had ailerons on both wings and a tie in between them. And when I built the two new top wing, I did not want ailerons in the top wing, so I didn't do it that way. And then one of the only changes I made on the plans when they published the article was I made the bottom aileron a little wider, because it did have a fairly slow roll rate, but that just made it smooth. That made it that much smoother to fly. So,
What did you do to meet that wing area?
well, I got a hold of Glenn and asked him to get his plan so I could get the airfoil and the wing, and then I just took that airfoil, made a set of pattern of wings or pattern of ribs, and built a new wing that was, I think, just one panel longer on each end.
So it just has an extra bay on each side just to meet the wing area.
Yeah.
What did people think when you showed up with something different?
Well, one guy looked at me and says, "Uh-oh." He said, "There goes the ball game," and it did fly like that too.
Now, Bill, after that event, did you continue to fly and compete with this airplane?
Mm-hmm. That's the airplane I used up in the SIG meets and the SAC meets for several years.
Okay. And you said you brought your competition board that has the plates off a lot of the trophies
Yeah,
that you had won. You said pretty much everywhere you went with this, you always placed high.
yeah.
When you won that first event, what were your thoughts in terms of your competition and so forth that you had done previously?
Well, I was just real satisfied with the way the thing came out, because that's the way we had planned it, and it worked out, real good.
And how did you do the second year?
Well, the second year he beat me.
You said you flew your
Aeromaster.
Aeromaster again the second year. You said that Bill had given this to you if you wanted to fly it, and you
I put it up, and it was such a nice airplane, and I've got more airplane almost as many as you got. I need a building to put them in, so.
We are very, very thankful for Jack for contacting you and Bill for agreeing to donate the airplane to the museum.
Well, I'm really happy with you. Having it here means it's going down in history.
Well, I thank you, and I'm happy for my buddy here.
Are you ready?
If you're planning on attending the Toledo show April 7th through the 9th, we want you to be a Model Aviation contributor for a day. All you have to do is take a photo of one of the things that interests you most at the show and share it on Instagram for a chance to win a Futaba T6K version 2 transmitter provided by Hobbyco.
The rules are simple and anyone can be a Model Aviation contributor. To enter, simply follow @AMA Model Aviation on Instagram. Upload your photo with the hashtag MA@Toledo and tag @AMA Model Aviation in the photo.
Submissions must be received by Thursday, April 13th, 2017. The winner will be announced the following Friday, April 14th. Visit modelaviation.com/MA@Toledo.
Each month we're featuring a story submitted to us through Generations of Flight, a place devoted to showcasing you, your love for the hobby, and stories of time spent with family and friends. This month's featured story was submitted by Richard Bomber.
Richard writes, as an instructor with the Owatonna RC modelers, I do a lot of flight training. I received a phone call from the host of an exchange student from Norway asking if I would work with a student named Marcus, as he would be joining the Norwegian Air Force and he wanted to fly drones when he returned to Norway. The Air Force told him to take a look at an RC club in the US to get some experience. I welcomed the opportunity, and Marcus turned out to be a natural. He listened intently during ground school and handled Google Eyes, the airplane, with little correction on my part. Since then, he's been deployed with NATO forces in Brussels. Marcus is wearing a US Air Force cap I gave him, as I'm an Air Force vet myself.
That's a great story, Chris. To submit your story, go to generationsoflight.com and click on Submit a Photo. You can also help preserve the history of model aviation by visiting the National Model Aviation Museum's History Project. You can read biographies, club histories, company histories, or submit your own. If you are interested in submitting your story or other modeling history, information can be found at modelaircraft.org.
Finally, it's that time again. Registration for the 2017 Indoor and Outdoor Nats is now open. The Free Flight Indoor Nats will be held once again in Rantoul, Illinois at the Rantoul National Aviation Center. And new this year, the NSRCA will be hosting the RC Aerobatics or Pattern Nats in Blytheville, Arkansas, July 25th through the 29th at Eaker Air Force Base. All other outdoor competition is going to take place right here at the International Aero Modeling Center in Muncie, Indiana from June 23rd to August 3rd. You can register for this year's competition by heading over to modelaircraft.org/nats.
And that's all we have for this episode of AMA Air. Thanks for stopping by. If you have a story you'd like to see on our show, head over to air.modelaircraft.org and send us an airmail.
Of course, if you're not already a member of the AMA, visit modelaircraft.org and sign up today. We'll see you next time, but for now, it's time to get flying.